I don't see it. Any grown man that starts using the word deserve in any form or fashion, deserve is for little kids. Grown people know you don't get what you deserve. You get what you can negotiate. Marcellus, any truth to what Donovan McNabb's talking about here?
There's some truth to it. To what degree, we don't know. I don't know if the truth is in the race card, not the card I would have played here, not the lens I'm seeing this through. It could be just the quarterback card, as he threw Andy Dalton in there. Andy Dalton's not worth $3 million. He's worth much more than $3 million, but situations will arise in our lives, and you got to be smart about it. So Usher nailed that a while back, and Andy tried to play it properly now. That's all he could get. Well, let's look at this, because this is one of my favorite places in the world to be. Somewhere between coincidence and correlation. And when you don't know, guess what the old folks say you need to do? Until you hit bullseye, baby, keep throwing them damn darts. And that's what Donovan McNabb is doing. He's trying to hit bullseye. We're all trying to figure out what is going on in today's NFL in terms of this quarterback position. As I said, it's not black or white, but there is something to the line of black quarterbacks that are now finding themselves unemployed or devalued. And that's a longer line than the white quarterbacks. But there is a line for the white quarterback as well. So not exactly the way I would attack this, but until I have an exact answer, I'm never mad at somebody else trying to speak their piece.
Yeah, I can understand Donovan McNabb's frustration because he lived it. I had an old coach tell me a long time ago, black and average will get you fired. And so for Donovan McNabb, when you look at his plight, he went from being a guy that consistently led the Philadelphia Eagles to the NFC East title, led them to championship games, led them to a Super Bowl. 2 years later, he is out of the league. Typically, for African-American quarterbacks, they have a tough time finding themselves from being a star to then occupying a clipboard as a backup for years and years on end. For instance, Matt Schaub was a two-time Pro Bowler, but Matt Schaub has not been a good player for a long time. But every week when we see the Atlanta Falcons play, Matt Schaub is the quarterback too. How about Nick Foles? We've seen Nick Foles in multiple spots have an opportunity to start. It doesn't go well outside of Philadelphia. Yet, lo and behold, he's traded for a fourth-round pick and finds his way to Chicago. I think for Jameis Winston and Cam Newton, I think the issue that they have when they look around, the guys that are currently occupying the QB2 spot have never reached the mountains that they've climbed. And so you have a hard time when you've been taught from a kid that football is a meritocracy. You work, you perform, you produce, you get opportunities, but it doesn't seem like those opportunities are going their way. I can't put it all on race, but I can say it is interesting when you look at the accomplishments of some of the guys that are sitting on the sideline versus those that are occupying clipboards, and you just wonder why teams deem those guys to be better fits as backup quarterbacks.
Well, Bucky, you have to fit the role. And does Cam Newton want any parts right now of being a backup quarterback? I think most people would argue no. Most of the advice I've been hearing from people like Deion Sanders and others, don't be a backup quarterback. I don't think Cam Newton wants any parts of a $3 million contract with, maybe an additional $4 million in guarantees. Jameis Winston signed up to be a backup quarterback and go to what he considers the Harvard of quarterback school in New Orleans. That's the decision Jameis made. He could have probably gotten more money and gone someplace else, but he wanted to go to the Harvard of QB schools. I've seen this happen. Again, I always reference this. Jeff George, grew up with him, great friend of mine. He's like family to me. He was too talented to be anybody's backup quarterback in a real way, and he carried himself in a way like backup was beneath him, and it shortened his NFL career. And so it's all about, look, trust me, for 20 years, I've wanted to date Halle Berry. I'm not qualified. I don't fit the profile. So we can all want a bunch of different things, but do we fit the profile for that? Do we meet the qualifications? And then as it relates to Dak Prescott, is it can't get the contract he deserves. That's the kind of immaturity that I expect from a teenager. Dak Prescott was offered $33-some-odd million in September. Now, so there's a big debate about what does he deserve 40? Does he deserve 36? Does he deserve more than Russell Wilson and all these other guys? there's a lot of people that say, no, he doesn't deserve that. He deserves what he can negotiate through leverage, and he doesn't have the leverage to get what he wants. No different than me and Holly Berry. And so I just don't see, when I see Jordan Love getting drafted basically to replace Aaron Rodgers, we need to just cut this whole thing out, man. These coaches just want to win, man. They're not sitting around going, oh, my God, Cam Newton's too black for me. Cam Newton wants too much money. He wants to be a starter. That's why he ain't got no backup job.
Hey, man, you broke that down, Whitlock. And I think we need to we're talking about McNabb using the race card and looking at it through that lens. I think that in its entirety, we need to stop looking at the top level and start looking at more of the middle of the pack or even the bottom level of quarterback. What I mean by that is a lot of guys who have this gripe that McNabb is trying to express, they look at it like, look, the NFL will give a black and white quarterback the same rewards, but different penalties. Same rewards. Russell Wilson gets paid the most in the league. He black. But the penalties are different once you start going down the hill. The brakes on the black quarterback car don't work as well as the white quarterback's car. So the white quarterback can stop here, disappear, come back, get traded for, and the black quarterback just runs off the mountain and off the road. And here's something about it, because you find yourself in that weird place, that precarious place between being a marginal starter in this league. Worse than being a black quarterback or whoever's suggesting that is being a marginal starter. Because if you're not going to get picked up as a starter, and no one is really trying to do that, you're a highly paid backup. And no one's trying to do that. So you talk about getting caught between, and it's not between being a black quarterback or white quarterback. It's between what's your value versus what's your production going to be, being marginal. I think that's the deeper conversation.
Yeah, look, it's really a twisted conversation because there's so many things that are kind of blended in the conversation. Whether we talk about race or whether we talk about merit, there are a couple different things that are at play. But I can't understand Donovan McNabb's gripe and his argument, because let's just think about Jameis Winston and one of his classmates, Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota was benched for the last half of the year. Yeah, Marcus Mariota this offseason gets a 2-year, $17 million contract with $7.5 million in guarantees. Chase Daniel gets a contract over $3 million a year. Blaine Gabbert is re-signed as a backup quarterback, and we know that he can't play at a high level. And so the thing about it is, yes, you have race, you also have merit, you also have what I call like kind of the comfort level in the room, meaning that quarterback coaches and offensive coordinators are comfortable with guys that can speak their language and talk the talk on the board and all of those things. And sometimes when you have a big personality like Cam, or you have a guy that comes into the league with issues surrounding him and character like Jameis, it makes it very, very hard for those guys to be very comfortable with that kind of presence in the room.
Well, and again, you're talking about the qualifications of being a backup quarterback. Is big personality, is that part of the qualities of being a backup quarterback? I think most coaches don't want their backup quarterback with a big personality, a big brand. So take personality out. Just take Tim Tebow and that big brand he carried around with him, got him run up out of the league. When you start talking about character issues, do you want a backup quarterback with character issues? No. And so to me, a lot of this doesn't have to do with race. It has to do, what are the qualities you're bringing to the table as a quarterback in this league? Do they fit the profile of a backup quarterback? And then when we start talking about penalties and rewards for being a quarterback, let's just remember, Michael Vick got 2 $100 million contracts despite character issues, despite some serious off-the-field issues. And trust me, I love Mike, glad that it happened. But Mike was the blackest of black quarterbacks, got 2 $100 million contracts after going to prison. So when we start talking about penalties and rewards, man, we can dice and slice this any way we want. We need to quit giving these guys excuses and give them good advice. If you want to transition into a backup quarterback, there's some personality traits and some ways you have to carry yourself in order to get those jobs. Quit, instead of going in, oh, I'm getting treated racist. Now, hey, man, tone it down. Go in there and be the starting quarterback's best friend. Help that guy prepare every week. That's the role of a backup quarterback, and that's why Matt Schaub and Chase Daniel and these guys keep getting these jobs. They playing the role for the number 2. Trust me, I'm on a diet right now because I'm trying to play the role for Holly Berry. I need to lose weight if I want to be in the Holly Berry game. It is what it is. I can blame it on racism or fat shaming or whatever. Instead, I'm going to stay on this diet. I'm going to keep dropping these pounds, and we'll see what happens. Maybe by age 60, she'll look my way.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. And be sure to check out more of the best clips from Speak For Yourself, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.